Truman?
Yeah, nothing to report, but my apologies, I've got to go.
You're more than welcome. I hope your family's all well, and especially that little one of yours. Councillor Kipper?
Yeah, a number of things that I attended. Perhaps one to mention though is the river trails that will be opening in Labour weekend.
Councillor Williams might have you got?
I have my report on the local government conference, but I thought I'd follow the Deputy Mayor.
If you're happy to do it that way, that's fine.
Well, yeah, I've given you a written one.
Yep.
Written one there, and I suppose, to just talk about it. First of all, as I say, thanks very much for sending me. It was my first local government conference in 5 years, and I thought it was prudent to go with the local government reform. So I've given a bit of an overview of the key speakers and what they said, and the response from Lawrence Yule, the President of Local Government. As far as the workshops went, I found them quite disappointing, mainly because there was information that was kind of presented that I already knew, Frontier and the transport. I went to a transport conference and it was very much, and there wasn't really time to network. They only because the workshops followed quickly from one to the other. As soon as the workshop finished, there was only questions probably out of the 60 or the 100 delegates that are in there. There was only probably time for 3 or 4 questions, and then you had to go. Then you were shoved out, and another workshop came in, and you were shoved out. So I felt as though, and the actual networking with other councillors and other CEOs wasn't there, or didn't have time to have it. And even the major speakers like Mr. Key, the Green Party co-leader, and Annette King, very pertinent to hear, of course, the opposition and how they feel about it, because they're always going to say something negative about the national government. But it was a good time to stop for an hour and actually mingle with other councils on their questions and talk about what they were going to ask those speakers. At the actual conference dinner, we were in tables, and we could have mixed around, but because it was my first conference and I didn't know as many people, because it was mostly mayors and other councillors, I felt, Nicola was a little bit more socialising than I am, and Rob kind of knew everyone being a CEO. So yeah, I found that a little bit difficult, but yeah, overall, I think just getting an understanding of the local government reform, and I know we had a discussion on it yesterday, and how central government is going down that way of merging, and I still find it very hard to believe that we're going to copy over out of Auckland City. I think they will merge certain regions that, they're talking about, like Hastings and Napier, but distinct regions like ours, I really think they'll have a fight on their hands. So that's probably all I've got to say. But yeah, I did get a lot out of just more on that understanding of the local government reform and the well-beings. We all talk about the well-beings, and I've mentioned it in there how much they've focused on that as being why councils are in debt, when our well-being was 480,000, but we've got to spend 30 million on water quality and wastewater and an ETA, another 30 million there. So it's very small, and actually the well-being of our community, because the whole reason why we stand as councillors is that we wanted to do good for our community and also be seen to do good. And it's those little small things out of the 480 that people see and talk about and get benefit out, and we talk about that in the youth, that youth survey, how those top 4 are really on our community well-being. So that's there. And I'll just carry on. I know you want to end, Nicola, but while you're on me, I also mentioned that I went to a group civil defence, and it was probably 9 days up in Hamilton representing the Taupo, and it was 9 days after the Tongariro event, and I've explained a lot of stuff to the Emergency Management Committee, which I chair, and we had a meeting in between there. And that follows on meetings that I've also had with DOC, GNS and Ngāti Kairapo, the marae down there in the iwi, and also Tourism New Zealand, Taupo District's Deputy Mayor, and also tourism from both sides, and the relationship building that we've created in there through the Tongariro event, and mainly because it's closed one of the national recognised in the world, I think it's number 6, the Tongariro crossing, and how it's affected our economy and tourism, but also iwi's perspective of being guardian of the Tongariro. So just going through those decision points, and that's why I presented again a media release and also an invitation on Friday on what's happening with DOC, because it's DOC land and they've had to make some of the decisions up there with GNS, and then the emergency management, of course. We're overviewing everything down there, and I must congratulate in this full council Brian Fox and Phil Parker. They went down there and did a relationship building along that Highway 46 of taking the rural fire truck and hosing off people's houses' roofs and cleaning their cars, hosing off their cars, and it was a real good relationship building between Taupo District Council and all the attributing people down there, DOC. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. So I'll hand it back to Nicola on the local government conference.
Well, I noticed one of the things you put down was that there was a view that the national government is trying to take the local out of government, and I think that definitely was something that that came through. But I'll quickly summarise. I have got a report, and I apologise I haven't emailed it to you, but I'll send it through tonight. But just to précis it, on the Sunday I went to the affordable housing site visits, and so we went. There's been a trust formed in Queenstown because what they found, and it's probably quite similar in some ways to here, although maybe not as extreme, but their sort of average price is $500,000 for a house, and they're finding that they're just not able to house their workforce because the price point of buying a house down there is far exceeds the affordability. So what they sort of found through a survey was that houses in the range of the average income was between $65,000 and $75,000, and they worked out that the affordable housing for that level of income was $250,000 to $300,000. So, and then they surveyed and they found out that 75% of their population wanted affording housing solutions, and 95% of the respondents wanted their own home. So they've set up this trust, and it's working really well. And I spoke to Rob about it because they did tell me that some of our staff, must have been during the long-term planning process, some of our staff had been in touch with them regarding this trust, because it seemed highly innovative and it was a win-win. So what they did was they got seed funding of $4 million from Housing New Zealand Fund, and then they got the $5 million due to council as a development contribution from the Jacks Point project. And so that's the seed funding, and it just rolls on. So at this stage they've done 50 houses for elderly, for young people, for single people. And so what happens is the funding and they take the profit at the end, so the funding just keeps growing. But it's a really interesting, and I'll give you the website if you want to go and have a look at it, because I think it's a really interesting thing, and perhaps we as a council may wish to look at it further. Then just quickly going through, there was the New Zealand Cities project, New Zealand Core Cities project address, and I just thought one thing that, with regards to local government reform, there was a $2 million spend of local government funds to meet the requirements of local government in the bidding for the $7 million velodrome, and that was just a point that I thought that was just something that that should be looked at by central government. There was a lot of talk to encourage the use of the services of the Ministry of Business Development and Innovation in our regions, and a lot of talk around collaborative economic development of regions and strategic alliances such as transport and the Bay of Connections, which we're involved in. As far as economic development strategies, there was talk of councils putting together opportunity portfolios, so when they're looking to And I think there was some talk here that we might review our economic development strategy, and that we might look at opportunity portfolios. Was a sort of a buzzword thing that was being branched around. The other key